This is the Book of Miracles by Monk Herbert. Chapter, How Did the Devil in Regal Gowns Appear to Idolaters? This is what dignified, looking Henry, once monk Clairvaux, now an abbot residing in Denmark for many years, announced to us about a noble monk from his abbey. The monk in question, now still wearing holly gowns in his youthful years, went to the pagan land mentioned above for the purpose of negotiations. However, on that territory there is an unclean statue in which the most frightening god inhabits, who gives a lot of responses and who is worshipped by the local inhabitants only because they fear it. Sometimes he made himself visible and appeared as if a tyrant with a terrifying countenance and voice, and he made the unhappiest people worship him by means of threats and beating. Besides that, on God's order, he frequently sent diseases, disasters, infertility, and other plagues, and aroused fear in the unfaithful. If it had ever seemed that he was giving up those criminal acts or that he was acting more gently, he was regarded as the minister of benefits. Every year, on fixed days, they used to arrive festively to his temple from everywhere, and they used to feast together, although their participation was dishonoring. They used to put a separate table and set it lavishly with delicious dishes, and all that used to be devoured in an invisible way by the gluttonous spirit. Then, when they saw everything had been eaten, they themselves ate joyfully because they thought the tipsy deity would be favorable to them. One day, when they gathered in one place, the young Christian mentioned before happened to be there. Suddenly, the well-known spirit appeared, decorated with royal ornamentation, sat down on his throne, and spoke to them in a proud and contemptuous way. Yet those lamentable people, mocked at by that shameless deity, stood terrified at the sight of him and worshipped him. When the young Christian saw it, he understood that it was the devil turned into the angel of light. He felt fear of Satan and, calling the name of Christ, made a sign of cross secretly. He did not dare, however, to make the sign of cross openly on his forehead due to a great number of people. Having noticed what he did secretly, the wild deity spoke to him in his native language. "Hey, you deceitful Christian, tell me what you are plotting in secrecy. Hiding under the cloak, you have made the hateful sign of cross on your chest. Are you also making an attempt to throw me out of my temple? I had left the place from which you came to my land. I hide in the sea, escaping from your cross, and now that I have returned, you do not allow me to find shelter from your cross in my own temples. You have eaten my food, you have armed against me with your signs, and once again you are expelling me against my will from my domicile like ungodly traitor." When the pagans heard the demon's voice, they hardly understood the conversation, and they were very surprised at who participated in the conversation and what it was about. The alarmed young Christian who heard and who understood the speech hid in the crowd because he was weak and young in his faith to such a degree that he was afraid he would be captured by the unfaithful and punished with death. However, when the demon disappeared, the crowd dispersed. The young man receded in astonishment, and what he saw and heard helped him to deepen his Christian faith. Soon, when he returned to his native land, he went to the abbey mentioned above, where he was in the service of God, and he revealed to the abbot and to other monks what had happened to him in order to strengthen them spiritually. What else can be said? If the power of the cross is so big that a Christian of small faith secretly and fearfully made the sign of cross, and as a result, the rulers of darkness escaped, what do you think happens if men of virtue and missionaries strong in faith arrive? And what is word of God? How many piles of corpses they made? What big crowds of pagans they gained in a short time? They found it out from the words of truth, which are in the psalm. 1,000 fall by your side, and 10,000 to your right. And in the ministerial book, 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 will chase 10,000. God is desirable for this kind of harvest in order to send harvesters to reap. Harvest is plentiful, but very few harvesters. However, those very few harvesters who came from everywhere are blessed profusely, and they reap the harvest of souls for God. As a result, thousands of pagans only just baptized in a short time grow in number more and more to such a degree that the bishops and metropolitans are appointed in many towns, and God's grape vine is spread far and wide among barbaric people who may have heard the name of wine, but they did not taste the wine.